As a result of this, we've increased adoptions. The cat adoptions have just taken off. And you can imagine in those big, what were used to be those big wings of colony rooms that would accommodate 1 or 2 families at the most, we can now fit 7 or 8 families in there interacting with cats at one time. We have virtually 0 ringworm. The only ringworm we ever see is in animals that have brought it into the building. We've not had any outbreaks that have spread through the building in more than 5 years. Dramatic reduction in upper respiratory. And it's really great because you can easily accommodate very challenging felines by putting them in a condo and just locking the door and giving limited access to the trained volunteers who are working to socialize those very fearful cats. So our experience with it has been absolutely spectacular. What happened with us is the cat renovations were the first phase of our total shelter renovation. When people saw the work we were doing with the cat apartments, money started pouring in to renovate the dog kennels, to renovate the adoption center, and before you know it, our entire shelter was redone. But we had to start somewhere, and even though it looked like we had no way to do it, the good work just brought more good work with it. And I would just point out, as we went through that process, we obviously had to figure out that the enrichment in the shelter had to vary dramatically, whether you're talking about the adoption floor, the quarantine or isolation areas, or the health status of the animal. But throughout our entire facility, we are always looking at what is the experience of this animal in our shelter. How can we make that experience better for that animal? So in our cat isolation area, for example, we have stainless steel cages still, some, not very many, but they're 6 feet long, 3 feet deep, and in every stainless steel cage in the isolation area, the cats get cat beds, they get cat trees, they get hide boxes, they get toys, and so we're always looking to make sure that the shelter experience for the animal is as close to like being in a home as humanly possible. And obviously it's going to vary by health status. You're not going to take a parvo puppy out into the yard and play with it. In our dog kennels, we did things like making sure that the dog kennels don't face each other. It keeps barking dramatically reduced. Like in the cat areas, we reduced the number of animals being housed, but made the kennels much larger and made it more possible for dogs to live together in larger kennels. We scheduled regular potty breaks for our dogs so that right now at our shelter, every dog is on a schedule with at least 3 potty breaks scheduled by staff in outside play yards every day. In addition to that, they get training, they get walking from volunteers, and they get other activities. But at minimum, we know that on a certain schedule, every dog is going to know when it's going to be able to get outside to go to the bathroom. Good for the dogs, it's also good for the cleaning staff. And we make sure that in those luxurious kennels, every dog has beds, blankets, toys, treats, and music. And I remember when I first started at Animal Ark, they were giving blankets to dogs, but if the dog would chew up the blankets, they would stop giving them the blankets. And we'd have stacks of blankets, in storage. He would say, well, so-and-so doesn't have a blanket. Well, they chewed up their last one. Well, give him, did he swallow any? Well, no. Well, then give him another one. And so I believe the only time you don't give them those things is if they're potentially dangerous to the animals. Obviously, if they're eating and swallowing blankets, you don't want to give them any. But you know what? Here's the thing. If you give them a blanket and they chew it up, and you give them another one, if you keep doing that, sooner or later, they actually just stop chewing them up. They figure it out.